So, hi everyone, and welcome to the UBC Engineering Parents and Supporters Information Night. We're so excited to have you all here today. In this session, we're going to be sharing a bit about UBC Engineering, student supports, and admissions. My name is Marie Reed. I'm the Project Manager, Programs and Strategy for the School of Engineering at the UBC Okanagan campus. And I'd also like to introduce Erin Fair. She's the co-host today, and she is the Student Recruitment Officer for the Faculty of Applied Science at the UBC Vancouver campus. So we have lots to share with you today, but first let's talk about the land our campuses are built on. Both UBC campuses are built on lands that have been home to Indigenous peoples for thousands of years. I would like to acknowledge the land that UBC has built its Vancouver campus on, which we work, learn, connect, and innovate, is the unceded ancestral and traditional territory of the Musqueam peoples. Our Okanagan campus is situated in the territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation and their peoples. And I would also like to acknowledge that you are joining us today from many places near and far and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So before we get started, I just have a few notes that I'd like to go over. These are reminders that there are a few functions that help customize your experience with us today. If you are experiencing any audio or video issues, you can adjust these through the settings below. And as well, if you are not able to adjust them, please feel free to let us know through the Q&A and we'd be happy to help you troubleshoot. This session is really designed for you. So we encourage you to submit your questions through the Q&A box. It's located at the bottom of your screen. It kind of looks like a square with a question mark in the middle. Please submit your question once so that we have the opportunity to get to your question. We have many people joining us today, so you can also upvote the questions that you have, and that will move those questions to the top of the list. We also have some different links that are available in the resources tab. So please feel free to check those out. When clicking on a link, it may give you a warning that you are leaving Zoom, but don't worry about that. It's just going to open that up in a new tab for you, and it won't cause you to leave Zoom or anything. So feel free to open as many links as you would like, and you can save them for later as well. Closed captioning is enabled, and you can enable this by clicking on the closed captioning button at the bottom of the screen. And finally, if you're not able to stay with us for the entire session, a full recording of this is going to be available on our YouTube channels in a few days. So we have so many fantastic people here today to talk to you. Dr. Agnes d'Entremont and Dr. Will Hughes will get us started with an introduction to UBC Engineering. And then we're going to have a brief Q&A with them before diving into more specifics about the degree and admissions with our advisors that have joined us today. At the end of the session, we're going to have an engineering-focused Q&A and an admission-focused Q&A time. So you'll have lots of time to get those specific questions in those areas answered. So to get us started, I would now like to pass it over to Agnes. Welcome, Agnes.
All right, thanks very much. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We know it's such an important decision about what program to take and what school to attend for both you and your student. So we're so happy that you're here to chat with us a bit about UBC and engineering. So I'll start a little bit with what is engineering? Well, engineering takes math and science and uses them, applies them to solve real-world problems and improve society. It's really a career where you can make some meaningful impact on people's lives. And while we work within the bounds of the laws of science and math, we get to be creative and inventive when coming up with our solutions. So it's a really fun career. Can we go to the next slide? Engineers work in a huge range of fields. Many of the things that we interact with every day are really the products of engineering. This includes things that people normally think of, like cars or bridges, but also how we get energy into our houses through power grids and generators, communication and information technology like the internet or smartphones, data centers, healthcare technology, such as medical devices or pharmaceuticals, and the way we take care of our environment through environmental sustainability, making sure that we have clean air and water, renewable energy, and sustainable infrastructure. So one of my favorite parts of engineering, if we can go to the next slide, is that it involves working together. You need teams of engineers to solve some of these really complex problems that we're facing. And that's one of my favorite parts of this job. Engineering is also very human-centered. We're working to get people the materials and resources and technologies they need to have better lives. So engineering problems have huge real-world impact. We'll go to the next slide. So say you're interested in engineering. Why come to UBC? Well, UBC Engineering is one of Canada's best engineering schools. And in fact, it's one of the world's best engineering schools. UBC overall is the second ranked university in Canada. It's also the #1 most international university in Canada. And it's one of the top 40 universities in the world. UBC Engineering in particular is the second ranked engineering program in Canada, 31st ranked globally, and we have the largest engineering co-op program in Western Canada. So when you're coming to UBC Engineering, you're coming to a world-class school. One of the reasons, if we can go to the next slide, one of the reasons that we are a good school is that we're not teaching just today's technology. We're teaching our students in order to create the technology for 10 years from now, 20 years from now. We equip our students with adaptability, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills to really become leaders of the future. And you can do so many things with an engineering degree. You can go and become a professional engineer. That's a great career. But you can also take your engineering degree and go into grad school or go into secondary degrees like law or medicine. These are all great avenues because they use the problem solving, analysis, and application skills that we teach in engineering. So now I'll pass it over to Will, who will tell you a bit more about our programs.
Thank you, Agnes. And so good to see my team and to be present here today. So I'm delighted to join you all and thank you for the incredible role you play in supporting your students' journey. As parents and supporters, you're not just sending your students to university, you're helping them take their first step into a community that will challenge them, inspire them, and of course, shape their futures. Now, one thing that I want to share with you all is that we're one degree with two campuses, we're one university with two campuses, and we're one community. And what I mean when I say that is that UBC's Bachelor of Applied Science is a single accredited engineering degree offered at both our Vancouver and Okanagan campuses. The degree is equally prestigious, equally rigorous, and deeply respected by employers and professional bodies around the world. Our campuses are only about 4.5 hour drive apart. And if you take a flight, it's about an hour, wheels up to wheels down. But they also offer wonderfully distinct experiences. I like to describe UBC Vancouver as a place that offers the energy of a global city, a hub of innovation, culture, and diversity. I also like to share from UBC Okanagan, which is where I am. It offers a close-knit, hands-on learning community surrounded by nature with easy access to professors and peers. I love both. I go back and forth to both, and I'm likely to send one of my children to one and the other one to the other. So whichever campus your student chooses, they'll receive the same innovation, project-based education that makes UBC engineers stand out. And they'll graduate with one degree, one shared reputation for excellence. Now, the other thing that I want to pass on to you is that at UBC, we just don't teach students on how to solve equations. We do that, and we do a good job of doing that. But we teach them how to solve problems that really matter, problems for them that matter, and problems for the world that matter. Our curriculum is designed to be both academically rigorous and personally meaningful. Students are challenged to apply theory through real-world projects, design challenges, and team collaborations, starting from their own and very first class period. From hands-on design studios to capstone projects sponsored by industry partners, students learn by doing and by leading. Our goal is to simple is excuse me, our goal is very simple to graduate engineers who are technically strong, adaptable, collaborative, and ready to lead. These are all qualities that are important in today's world. They'll also gain the professional skills that make all the difference: communication, leadership, and project management, preparing them not only for their first job, but for a lifetime career of impact. Now, one of the defining features of UBC Engineering is our commitment to experiential-based learning. Half of our students across both campuses choose to participate in cooperative education, gaining paid work experience with top employers like Tesla, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Schneider Electric. These opportunities aren't just limited by campus. The co-op program is a shared office that serves both Vancouver and Okanagan students equally. Once again, one university, two campuses, one faculty across both campuses. Students can also take their learning global through Go Global and coordinated international experience programs, studying, researching, or working abroad in places like Germany, Japan, Australia, and many, many, many more places than that. And for those who love to build and compete, our students' design teams are incredible. UBC's Vancouver sailboat team just beat out the US Navy in an autonomous sailing challenge, which is remarkable. Go UBC. And UBC Okanagan's aerospace team was the first non-commercial team to launch a clustered hybrid rocket from Canadian soil. These are the kinds of experiences that transform students and catch employers' attention for sure. Now, our students also find community here, and this is super important. And I think about my two daughters and where would I want them to go and why. Across both campuses, we have a strong engineering undergraduate societies and student-led clubs like e-ideas that advance inclusivity, diversity, and belonging for all students, including women engineers. Every student is supported by faculty and staff who care deeply about their success and by peers who quickly become lifelong friends and collaborators. Just today, my team was coordinating for a student that had a need, and we came together. We met for about 35 minutes, crossed notes with one another, reached out to the student, and by the end of the day, the solution had been addressed. I often tell parents that engineering at UBC isn't just about shaping minds, it's also about shaping hearts. Students discover what they're capable of, but maybe most importantly, they discover who they are and who they want to become. As you help your student make this important choice, I want you to feel confident in us. You can trust us with your student. As someone who travels to universities all over the world all the time, I plan to send my daughters here, as I shared before, either on the Okanagan campus right here or on the Vancouver campus, just a little ways away. The foundation provided by the UBC engineering degree is exceedingly valuable. It gives students a distinct way of thinking about the world, one rooted in creativity, systems thinking, and a sense of responsibility to use their strengths in service of others. Our graduates go on to make a difference. I see this every day and every year, designing clean water systems for Indigenous communities, reducing pollution, creating medical devices, taking climate change super serious, and building technologies that improve lives. UBC Engineering is more than a degree, and I'm getting ready to hand it over to my team. It's a launch pad for purpose and for a life of learning, leadership, and impact. I'm very proud to be here, and I look forward to having my children be able to participate here as well. Thank you for being a part of our journey. Thank you all, and back to you, team.
Thank you both so much for sharing your expertise and what you think makes UBC Engineering an amazing place for students to attend. So I just want to let you all know that we have a few minutes of Q&A specifically for Agnes and Will. So if you have any questions specifically for them from our leadership team of what you would want to know more from these amazing folks, please enter that into the Q&A now, and we'll try to ask a couple of questions to them specifically. I do see a lot of questions coming in about admissions and things like that, and we will be getting to more about the student experience and admissions throughout this presentation. So I think a lot of those questions will get answered, and we'll have lots of time at the end to do those questions as well. So right now we're opening it up to in the Q&A to any questions that you have for Will or Agnes. Again, you can just open that Q&A, and you can also upvote any questions. I do see some folks raising their hands and things like that. We're going to be using the Q&A to ask any of those questions. So please feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A so that we can keep the session going. So while you do think about those questions, oh, sorry. Right.
I'll say I do see a question that's already been put in,
Okay,
Erin.
perfect.
So I'm happy to pass that over to Will and Agnes to get us started. Perfect.
Perfect.
So the first question here is what types of industries or companies do UBC Engineering alumni or what type can they go into after graduation?
Are you doing rock,
Would you
paper,
like to?
scissors, Will?
I
I was
was.
just
Would you like to go, or would you like me to go?
I'll start and you can
Yes.
you can follow in. Just so many industries. Anything that's manufactured, it's got an engineer involved, and we've got manufacturing engineering. When we talk about resources, mining, resource companies, they go into high tech. We have students going to Tesla, Google, Apple. We have students building our infrastructure, bridges and buildings. We've got naval architects, we've got people doing coastline engineering, we've got people in healthcare making new insulin pumps and dialysis machines. Like pretty much anywhere you could possibly imagine that an engineer touches, our graduates go.
I think that is an outstanding response. UBC has all the types of engineering and they get placed all over the world for doing all types of things. The only addition I would have for the team is a lot of our engineers also graduate with aspirations for becoming entrepreneurs. And we have a lot of support systems for innovation and entrepreneurship, including the incubation of entrepreneurs on campus prior to their launch and supporting that on the back end. And so whether it's a large corporation, a for-profit organization, a startup scene, or even nonprofit scene, there's lots of connections that are made. So yeah, rock, paper, scissors. Nice job, Agnes.
Thank you both for sharing that. I really appreciate your perspective. We've had quite like so many alumni enter the world, and it's amazing to see all of the great things they're doing and the impact they're having. The next question is switching a little bit to a teaching sort of student success lens. What can parents do to ensure their student will be successful in engineering, either now while they're in high school, if their student is still preparing for applying, or once they get into university?
Mm.
And maybe start with Will this time, if that's okay.
I will start with university, if it's okay, Agnes, and
Mm.
double down on that and on pre, if that's okay. So I think that maybe the most important thing, and I think about, once again, my kids getting ready and preparing for university, is the support that you give. Love them, care for them, stay connected to them, give them the space to grow, but let them know that you're there. Engineering is demanding. It is rich. It's exciting. It's challenging. And you're going to, if you haven't been through engineering yourself, you're going to hear that your student is studying a lot and working hard inevitably. And there's going to be a lot of joy that comes from that, but there's also going to be moments where they may just need to talk to mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandmother, grandfather, friend, and those things are super valuable. So staying connected, I think, is incredibly helpful. And also reminding them, this is a small thing, reminding them of why they went. Why did they participate? Why did they raise their hand to be an engineer? Because it's those things and that help us through these processes. So, Agnes, maybe if I could pass it over to you too.
Sure. I absolutely agree with Will. That support system while they're here is a huge part of their success. I'd say before they come, our programs are heavy in math and science, so having a good background in that is helpful. But one of the benefits of, this environment where we're creative and we're working on teams is that diverse perspectives are really helpful in finding um, the best solutions, again, to help people. And so I think, students going and having a diversity of experiences and following their interests and just that richness brings a lot to their engineering program when they join with their teams and start to solve problems. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, high five. Nice.
Thank you both so much to Agnes and Will for spending your Friday evening with us, sharing your time and your expertise. I know I always learn so much every time I hear both of you speak, so I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for being part of the Q&A as well. We're going to jump into some more information next for our advisors to present on, and then we'll also have some admissions pieces coming up. So Will and Agnes, you're both welcome to head out for the evening. We appreciate your time here tonight. Thank you so, so much.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank you
everyone.
all. Thank you. Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, we will have another Q&A coming up. So be sure to read through the Q&A. I know that there are lots of questions already posted. You can upvote those as well. And then we will have a chance to, at the end, also ask questions specifically about engineering. So if you're wanting to know more about placement or what anything specific to the program looks like, we'll have one area for you to ask those questions. And then we'll also have some admissions questions area as well. So keep those in mind. You don't have to ask all your questions right now. We're going to jump into two more kind of short presentation pieces with our advisors. So first, I'd like to introduce Callie and Tamara to share more about the engineering program at both campuses. And then, like I said, we'll be moving on to admissions shortly.
Hi everyone, my name is Callie Dumbrell, and I am an Associate Academic Advisor at Engineering Academic Services on the Vancouver campus. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'll pass it over to Tamara.
Hey everyone, I'm so glad that you're joining us today. My name is Tamara Winiger, and I'm an Academic and Career Advisor on UBC's Okanagan campus, and my pronouns are she, her.
In UBC Engineering, all students begin with a foundational first year. It's designed to give them the core skills they'll need for their degree. Courses like engineering design, chemistry, physics, math, and English. This first year really sets them up for success before they move into their specific engineering program in the second year. Right from the start, students are introduced to hands-on, team-based design projects. At the Vancouver campus, for example, they begin with a course called AppSci 100, where they start learning how engineers think and solve problems. One of the first projects is a fun and surprisingly challenging one, the cardboard chair project. Students are given a single 4x4-foot piece of cardboard and asked to design and build a chair that can hold a 250-pound load. This is without using any tape or glue. It's an incredible way for them to get creative, test ideas, and learn from trial and error. They're graded on how much weight it can hold, how comfortable it is, and how easily it can be taken apart and transported. In the second term, they move on to AppSci 101, where projects become a bit more complex. One example is building and automating a fully autonomous car retrieval system. By the end of first year, students have not only developed strong teamwork and design skills, but they've also had a chance to see what it really means to think like an engineer. Similar courses on the UBC Okanagan campus are AppSci 169 and 171, where students are also creating projects that help address a current local, regional, or global issue. For example, last year's AppSci 171 final design competition centered around the critical issue of climate change, specifically the urgent need to address and mitigate wildfires. I'll pass it back to Tamara.
Thanks, Callie. So I'm just going to highlight here our undergraduate programs that we have on the Okanagan campus, and then Callie will chat about the Vancouver campus. So as you can see on your screen, we have 5 engineering programs on our campus, including civil, computer, electrical, mechanical, and manufacturing engineering. So students will choose their program of choice at the end of that foundational first year that Callie chatted about. Again, at the Okanagan campus, students are guaranteed placement into their first choice engineering program that are accepting new students. So I added that in there. As you can see under the manufacturing, there's a little asterisk. We aren't accepting new students into that specific program, but we are into civil, computer, electrical, and mechanical. So the biggest note for our campus is that of the programs that we offer, students are guaranteed into their program of choice. And I'll pass it back to Callie to chat about Vancouver.
Thanks, Tamara. I think I went too far there. Sorry. There we go. At the Vancouver campus, there are 14 different engineering disciplines that students can choose from after their first year. To help them find the right fit, most students will go through what's called the engineering program placement process. This process determines which engineering discipline they'll move into for their second year. It's a competitive process, as some programs have limited space or specific requirements, such as an interview or certain first-year course prerequisites. However, students receive lots of guidance and support along the way. Throughout their first year, they'll learn more about each program and the placement process through information sessions, program fairs, and advising opportunities at both campuses. A small number of top applicants may also receive a guaranteed placement offer to one of UBC's 13 undergraduate engineering programs, with the exception of engineering physics. Students who are offered guaranteed placement will be notified via email. At UBC, students have the flexibility to customize their degree in ways that reflect their unique interest and career goals. Many programs include concentrations or options that focus on specific fields, such as the aerospace option available through mechanical engineering at both campuses. Students can also choose to broaden their academic experience by adding a minor or completing a dual degree. At the Vancouver campus, students can choose from 5 minors if they'd like to explore a secondary area of study alongside their engineering degree. While a minor isn't required, it's a wonderful option for students who want to broaden their learning or pursue another academic interest. It's one of the many ways UBC helps students customize their education to match their goals and passions. For students interested in biomedical engineering, UBC offers the Pre-Biomedical Engineering, or PBME, timetable, a modified first-year course plan that helps them build a strong foundation in both engineering and biological systems. The PBME includes courses that serve as prerequisites for second-year biomedical engineering, ensuring students are well prepared to continue in this specialized and fast-growing field. Students who complete PBME are given priority for placement into the biomedical engineering program. Those who do not take the PBME STT can still apply to biomedical engineering after completing the required courses during the summer term. The PBME application process takes place during the winter term of the first year. Because it's a very competitive process, interested students will be invited to apply and submit the necessary materials. At our Okanagan campus, students can add a minor in arts, computer science, or management, take a dual degree in engineering and management, and also choose a further specialization within many of the programs. Passing it back to Tamara.
Okay, so another way for students to customize their degree is to explore the world and go on exchange. So we have something called a Go Global program. It's UBC's exchange or study abroad program. And we also have our own program for the School of Engineering and for Applied Science in Vancouver called Coordinated International Experience, or CIE. And the reason why I say this is the Go Global program is a study abroad program, and under that umbrella is the CIE partnership. So essentially what it is it's specialized for applied science students. If they are interested in studying abroad, we have 17 partners institutions across the world. So students can look to study in Asia, Australia, and Europe, and this is where they're going to take pre-mapped engineering-related courses at those specific universities. So the reason why we have this partnership is so that our engineering students can go out and get as much credit as they can back so it doesn't delay their degree completion. So lots of students explore this option. Typically, it happens in a student's third year of the program, and it is application-based. Some of our partners include ETH Zurich, the National University of Singapore, and the University of Melbourne, just to name a few. So we've also included a link in our resources tab for you to learn a little bit more. A fun fact about the study abroad program is that students can replace one of their co-op work terms with a study abroad work term or a study abroad term. So that's just another way that students can customize their degree, which leads me into kind of my next slides to speak a little bit more about co-op. So co-op is a very popular program for our students, and it's a fantastic way for students to get paid to learn and gain real life work experience before they graduate. So our co-op program provides students with over 16 months of paid full-time work experience. The cool part is that it doesn't matter what campus you study on, Vancouver or Okanagan, students have access to the same co-op opportunities on the same job board. So as you can see on the screen, there's some statistics from last year. So some of our top employers include Tech Resources, Metro Vancouver, or Tesla Motors. And we have students that have worked internationally across 23 countries and have had over 3,000 work terms secured by our students. So it's cool to note that students aren't just doing co-op in the city or campus area where they're studying. They can do it domestically across Canada or globally. And there are opportunities for students to find that. The big thing to note about the co-op program is it's an optional program. So students can opt into it, but they do have to apply. So students would look to apply for co-op going into their second year. So we encourage them to take that foundational first year and get a little bit more courses and learning outcomes under their belt before they're looking to apply for co-op. And there are minimum eligibility requirements for co-op. One of them include a minimum of 65% GPA average. On this next slide, you can see some kind of sample jobs that get posted on that co-op job board. So again, the big thing to note is that students across both campuses have access to the same co-op opportunities. So for anyone that's interested, we've included another link in our resources tab there. And again, like I had mentioned, students would start as early as year 2 of their studies. So hopefully this gives you a good sense of some things that your kids could do to enhance their degree during their time at UBC, whether it's adding a concentration or a minor, whether it's studying abroad or participating in our co-op program, just to name a couple things. As we kind of round out this portion of the presentation, I just wanted to mention some of the amazing resources that we offer for our students across both campuses when it comes to things like academic and career advising, accessibility, subject tutoring, health and wellness, and financial and advising support. So these are kind of 5 key areas that we help support students on. And I'm just going to chat a little bit about the top bullet points. So we do offer free tutoring across both campuses. On each campus, this looks a little different, but on the Vancouver campus, there's free tutoring in first year through their undergraduate engineering society. There's a math learning center, and on the Okanagan campus, we have free tutoring through the Student Learning Hub. So there are great ways for students to get that supplemental learning outside of their classes and outside of their professor's office hours. Another amazing thing to note is we do have different centers for accessibility. So on the UBC Vancouver campus, it's called the Center for Accessibility, and on the UBC Okanagan campus, it's called the Disability Resource Center. So these really just provide students that may have a disability to create accommodations for students during their time at UBC. We also always like to mention our student wellness. So across both campuses, we have wellness centers, and this helps students with student health clinic. We also offer counseling and mental health. Again, all of the services I've mentioned before, including our counseling services, are free to students. And so students have access to this throughout their whole time during their degree. Another great way to enhance their wellness is access to UBC recreation. So this includes single day events or intramurals. It's a great way for students to be active throughout their degree and also to meet other people while they're studying. And I'll just pass it to Callie to chat a little bit more about that advising and financial component.
Thanks, Tamara. So at the Vancouver campus, students will have dedicated first-year advisors such as myself to help with any academic questions, and then specific program advisors to help with their academics in their upper years. At the Okanagan campus, they seek advising from a more central advising office. Academic resources per subject are provided by academic advisors. These resources can be shared via email and available upon request. At the Vancouver campus, each student is assigned an enrollment services advisor, or what we call ESA, to support them with any financial concerns. We've already mentioned the $30 million in scholarships and awards that UBC gives out every year. The student will also have access to additional scholarships to apply to as they progress through their degree. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you so much to Callie and Tamara for sharing their great expertise on everything advising related to both of our Vancouver and Okanagan campuses for engineering. They'll be sticking around, so you'll be able to ask them more questions coming up very shortly. But we know as parents that you want to support your students through the application process, knowing what it is that they need to get into engineering and kind of how to support them throughout the whole process they may be going through right now if they're ready to apply to UBC. So I'm going to invite Ruben and Sean to speak a little bit more about how you can support your students in that whole process.
Thank you so much, Erin, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here this evening, and I'm very much excited to be able to talk to you all here today about our admission process. I'm Sean. I'm an advisor with the University of British Columbia, of course. I represent our domestic recruitment team, so students studying inside of Canada, and I'll pass it over to Ruben.
Hi everyone, I'm Ruben. I'm an international student recruiter and advisor at the Vancouver campus. So I'm on the global recruitment team, handling admissions for the international audience that we have here today.
So just to get us started, for everybody that's joining us today, we wanted to make sure that we recognize that there are a variety of different pathways for students who are looking to potentially join us at UBC. So many of you are likely currently still in high school and you're thinking about joining us directly from your grade 12 year once you've graduated, coming directly into UBC Engineering, and that's very much what a lot of students will do with us. There are also opportunities for students to transfer to UBC from other post-secondary institutions, whether that's in Canada, in British Columbia, or even throughout the world as well. So if you wanted to start at another institution and come join us a little bit later, maybe after your first or second year of study, that is also a possibility. We also have a number of pathway programs, our engineering transfer partnerships with a number of post-secondary institutions in the province of British Columbia, both for our UBC Vancouver and our Okanagan campus, which is a guaranteed pathway for students looking to come to engineering but start off at a different institution. Most of the time, those programs require 1 full year or maybe 2 full years of study at another post-secondary institution, a minimum GPA, and then you can transfer over into a second year or potentially even a third year at UBC as well. So if you're looking for more information about those, you could potentially visit our engineering website to learn more about what those requirements are for those programs. Now, in addition to that, if you're looking to support your students in the application process, the good news is the application is already open to UBC, so you can start the application process now. And one of the first things that you want to make sure that your student is aware of is that, of course, we do have 2 different campuses. So you want to make sure your student is looking at the appropriate campus for where they want to study, whether that's on the Okanagan or on the Vancouver campus. So you want to take a look at what opportunities and options are available there to make sure you're making the right choice, of course, for your student, and then also for yourselves as a parent supporting your student as well. In terms of application dates and deadlines, so as the application is already open, we do have some strict deadlines in terms of when you can submit your application by. So January 15th is going to be the latest that you can apply to UBC for most of our undergraduate bachelor degree programs. So you want to make sure you don't miss that application deadline. And I'll also just mention for domestic students, December 1st is an important deadline for many scholarship applications as well. So if you're looking to be considered for some of our entrance awards, perhaps you want to encourage your student to apply by that December 1st deadline for many of those awards as well. And then once a student has submitted their application, they are going to be asked to submit some documentation to us. This potentially is going to be your transcripts from your high school, maybe some information about English language test scores, and potentially a few other pieces of information as well. And for those, the deadline is going to be March 15th for most of our programs as well. Now, if you're ready to start the application process with your student, UBC uses a common application in the province of British Columbia called Education Planner BC. This is the place that you can come to start the application and follow through with the submission as well. So if you can't remember where this is, you can always come to our UBC website and we'll link you to Education Planner BC. But you're going to have to create an account and provide us with a few different pieces of information throughout the application process. And then I will also just note that for each of our programs or degrees at UBC, there are going to be slightly different requirements for admission, and they may be also slightly different depending on the province or the area or the country that you're coming from. So our main website, you.ubc.ca, is going to be a really fantastic resource for all of you to learn more about all of our admission requirements. The website is separated into requirements for students studying in Canada in each different province, and then we also have a section for students studying outside of Canada as well. So you just want to make sure that you're on the appropriate website and you're selecting the degree program that you want to go into, and we'll be able to tell you all of the requirements that you're going to need to get into whichever programs you're looking for. And of course, if engineering is that option, there's a section for engineering as well. Now I'm going to pass it over to Ruben.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's talk about admission requirements to UBC. So you might be very happy to hear that UBC adopts a holistic admissions process, so no one's going to be admitted purely based on grades alone. So the admission is both comparative and competitive, and we'll be looking mainly at your academic performance and also your personal profile. There are also some programs outside of engineering that might require other requirements like portfolios, auditions, video interviews, and so on. But right now for engineering or applied science, it's only the academic performance and also the personal profile that we'll be looking at for your application to UBC. And also we look at the breadth, depth, and relevancy of the programs that you've been taking at high school, so the different courses you've been taking, or if you have challenged yourself and are doing the IB, doing APs, doing college level courses, all this will be taken into consideration as well. So the next piece of the application, as I've talked about very briefly early on, is the personal profile. So we get lots of questions about what it is exactly, how do I prepare for it, what's gonna look good to UBC. So let's talk a bit more about that. So this is really the area where you can really showcase more of yourself beyond grades. Okay, so it's a series of short answer questions, about 5 to 6 of them. So very, very simple things like, tell me about yourself, and you just key in like a few pieces of information there, but we're not looking for a laundry list of achievements. Okay, we are looking for people who can actually reflect on their experiences and showcase certain aspects or certain qualities about themselves that really highlight their contributions towards higher education. So we find that the most successful students at the university and those who really excel in the personal profile as well are those ones who showcase some form of leadership potential and are also really active in their respective communities. So please do remember to write reflectively, and I think parents, in your capacity, you can also help your children make sense and also process these experiences so they can communicate these stories, these ideas effectively in their personal profile. So ultimately, we use the personal profile to not only determine admission, but also to determine if you will be eligible for an entrance award as well. So we do take lots of the different curriculums, and we do accept students from all over the world. So many, many different variations there. So I'm going to talk about one key one that we do see a lot recently, which is, of course, the International Baccalaureate Program, or IB program for short. Yep, so these are just some admission requirements for this particular program. So of course, general requirements are complete the full IBDP. There are some students who are doing certificate courses as well, and this also can be used for admission purposes. And I think one thing that Sean mentioned previously as well is to always check degree-specific requirements. So that page that he showed you early on, that is where you find under your curriculum type, you can find all the different requirements for each single program, from the arts to sciences to applied sciences to other ones as well. So this is really the place to make sure that you're eligible for these programs and are hitting all the right requirements. So for the engineering programs specifically, we are really looking at your math, your physics and chemistry at the grade 12 level. And for the IB students, yeah, IB math, the appropriate IB math, physics, and also chemistry. Okay, so we do also we do grant first year credit for students as well doing the IB program. So this should be very, very good news to you if you're doing the IB. We also grant them for people in the AP program and also the British Pattern A levels as well. So we do have a very helpful website to communicate all these first year credits as well. So you can see what courses you've been taking in high school will be equivalent to first year courses at UBC. And for students in other curriculum types as well, I also want to emphasize there is a helpful website that Sean previously mentioned about. Check that website religiously and also look at all the different requirements before you apply. And yes, very, very important. So I really need to emphasize that. Yes, so now back to Sean about academic supports.
Thanks so much, Ruben, for all of that information. So in terms of other ways that you can support your students and knowing that they're going to be supported at UBC when going through the application process and potentially after a student has been admitted to UBC, within both of our UBC campuses, we do have something called Enrollment Services Advisors. And these are advisors that are specialized in supporting your students through the 4 years of their undergraduate degree programs. So these enrollment services advisors are going to be a one-stop shop to be able to help your students in understanding where they can go for additional supports in everything from peer tutoring, academic coaching, if they need supports with finances, if they need to know where they can go for things like counseling or medical services. These enrollment services advisors are going to be there to support your students throughout their degree. And these enrollment services advisors are assigned to your student after they've been admitted to UBC and just shortly before they start registering for classes, and that the time frame is going to be in and around June. We also have a lot of other academic supports for your students, everything from library services and learning centers on both of our campuses that are going to be able to help your students understand better how to support themselves with all of their academic learning, writing papers, learning how to study for classes and time management. So we always encourage you to talk with your students about learning more about these resources and how to access them as well. If your student does need tutoring services or academic supports, they can go to their individual or respective faculties to learn more about what those supports look like, or they can potentially come to some centralized resources on each of our campuses as well. And during your orientations, when your students come to campus, they'll be given more information about where they can find those services on each of our campus. Additionally, many of you may be thinking about financial supports for your students as well. So understanding how a student is going to fund their education can be really important. And sometimes the cost of going to university can be really stressful for a student as well. So of course, in addition to any savings that a student might have, if a student is inside of Canada as a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, or potentially in the United States, there are student loan options for students. Each province is going to have a separate process for the applications, and then the United States will have a different process as well, depending on whether it's a federal grant or a state grant as well. So depending on eligibility, this may be different depending on residency, maybe program eligibility, and then also financial need as well. We always encourage you to take a look at those options early, as the deadlines to apply for student loans can come up very quickly, usually in and around the springtime in the May-June timeframe. At UBC, we also do have policies that state that we want to make sure that financial need is not going to be a barrier for students looking to attend UBC. For that reason, if a student has depleted all of their resources and potentially is still missing some academic funding for their education, we do have emergency funding options for students, and those usually come up in the fall, usually in and around September or October. So if a student is feeling like they might not be able to cover all of their expenses, we always encourage them to first reach out to their enrollment services advisor once they've been assigned to talk about options and to plan for their finances for the fall as well. Now, we do also have some scholarship opportunities, both for international and domestic students as well. So I'll first of all talk about opportunities for domestic students. So that's any student that's a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident in Canada. We do have some academic merit-based awards. One is called the Presidential Scholarship or Presidential Scholars Award. This is going to be an award that is automatically considered as long as a student applies to UBC by December 1st and just checks the box on the application to say they'd like to be considered. It is based on merit, so what that means is it's going to be grades overall in high school, and then also the personal profile factors into this consideration as well. We do have a number of financial need-based awards as well. So one is called the Centennial Scholars Entrance Award. This is going to be for students who may find it a struggle to be able to afford the cost of attending UBC. If you're looking to know more about this award, you do have to apply to UBC by December 1st, submit a separate application to the Centennial Scholars Entrance Award, and that is also due by December 1st as well. And just keep in mind that that application for the scholarship can be quite substantial, so we encourage you to start that application process early. We do also have some community-specific awards, so awards for students who are Indigenous in Canada, and then also for students who are Black identifying through our Beyond Tomorrow Scholars Program. Both of these scholarship opportunities are going to be deadlines of December 1st as well, and they vary in terms of size and opportunity, so we encourage you to take a look at our website, again, you.ubc.ca, for more information about those particular scholarships. I'll hand it back over to Ruben.
Great. So let me talk about awards for international students. So we do have merit-based and also need and merit-based awards for international students attending UBC. So first off, let me talk about merit-based awards. So these are automatically considered as long as you apply to UBC. Okay, so no separate scholarship or award applications required to be considered for these merit-based awards. So we do have a one-time award, which is the Outstanding International Student Award, and also a renewable award, which is a higher tier award called the International Major Entrance Scholarship. So these awards will be determined according to the strength of your application, mainly via your academic performance and also your personal profile. So next, we do have the merit and need-based awards for students demonstrating significant financial need. So this is called the International Scholars Program. So for this program, there is a separate scholarship application that is going to be required, and also a nomination from your school. And also please take note, there's also an earlier deadline to submit this scholarship application, and that's going to be November 17th. And you will also have to apply to UBC by December 1st. So if you're interested in that program, there's lots of helpful information online on the website to tell you more about the application procedures and the timelines as well. So for today, I also want to highlight the UBC Okanagan Awards because we do have two very, very special awards for this group of students. So for the first one I'm going to talk about is the International Welcome Award, and that's $5,000 for students who are admitted to their first choice Okanagan program. So it has to be first choice program, and this is going to be a one-time $5,000 award for international students. And next, we do have a new award that was recently launched called the Global Elevation Award. And all incoming students to the Okanagan campus will be offered this renewable $8,000 award per year. So it's going to be renewable for up to 4 years. And basically, we want to reward international undergraduate students at the Okanagan campus as they play a key role in contributing to the growing community at the campus. So lastly, we want to talk just a bit about this called third-party authorization, because we do get lots of common questions from parents asking us as recruiters, like basically asking, can you tell us about the status of my child's application? And unfortunately, for most cases, we cannot divulge any information regarding that, only because we do have a Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act in British Columbia. So this prevents us from discussing student enrollment information with any other person, which includes US parents as well, without prior consent from your child. So the way to go about this is to formally complete a third-party authorization little form on our website. So students can do it via Workday Student, or if you're at the application process, they do it through the Application Service Center account. So please make sure that your child has done this third-party authorization to grant you access to their student information. So please make sure that this is in place so that you can find out more information. Okay, that's the end of our admission section. I hope you find that useful.
Perfect. Thank you so much to Ruben and Sean for sharing lots of helpful information. Before we move into the Q&A, we have lots of time left for Q&A, and I see that there have been lots of really great questions submitted. So we're going to split up into 2 different rooms to help get through as much questions, or as many questions, sorry, as we can, and provide you with as much information as possible. If you've asked a question into the Q&A about admissions, unfortunately, you're going to have to ask that question again because we are going to put the admissions group into a breakout room. So I will be starting the breakout room. You'll see it pop up on your screen if you want to join that. In the breakout room will be for questions about admissions, scholarships, anything that Ruben and Sean has presented about today. Marie will be moderating those questions, and you'll be able to use the chat in the breakout room to ask those questions. I'll show you what those pop-ups should look like. They'll look something like that. So in the main room where we are right now is where we'll have our engineering advisors to answer any questions about kind of the difference between campuses, difference of programs, anything about student experience, opportunities to customize your degree, co-op, anything else related to being a UBC engineering student, essentially. Then in the breakout room, as I mentioned, we'll have the admissions questions. So you will be able to click the pop-up that will open soon on your screen to join that breakout room if you'd like. If you want to stay and ask questions about engineering, simply click that Not Now button and you will stay here. You can also switch back and forth between this area and the breakout room at any point by clicking the breakout room button on the bottom of your screen. So it should look like kind of 4 squares next to each other, or making a larger square, I guess. And you should be able to go back and forth between those areas. So we will be using the Q&A for the engineering session in here. And then, like I mentioned, in the breakout room for admissions Q&A, you'll be able to use the chat, and we'll try and get through as many questions as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and open those breakout rooms now. All right, so you should be able to choose the room that you would like to access now. And we're going to jump into some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen right now. Just so that we can chat with our advisors. And sorry, I'm just moving my screens around. All right, perfect. So if you're in here and you did have a question about admissions, I am going to be dismissing those questions, and we will get to any of those questions that you have about UBC Engineering. A reminder that you can still ask questions in the Q&A, and you can continue to upvote questions as well. But for anything specific to admissions, I encourage you to go into that breakout room. All right, so let's see, our first question that I have is about co-op opportunities. So I know that Tamara spoke to lots of information about co-op. I think the first part has already been answered. This was asked very early in the presentation. So the question was, what are co-op opportunities like for students? I think we definitely covered that. So hopefully that was very clear. The question about, has the co-op market gotten more difficult in the current climate? And first, I'm going to plug our session that we had just recently, where the co-op advisors were actually there to speak to. And we had 2 current students that are part of the co-op program who talked about their co-op placements that they've had. So definitely go check out our previous recordings, which you can access in the resources tab. But maybe I'll pass it over to Tamara and Callie if you have any advice for a student that might be considering co-op in the future, in what that might look like from your perspective.
Yeah, I guess I can step in here. So I guess first and foremost, our department doesn't handle co-op. So it is a separate department. It's the Appside Co-op office. So you're absolutely welcome to contact them. I don't know, their website should be, it's just Appside Co-op office. Maybe Erin will share that information.
It is in the resources tab.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Students that do co-op, and it's a very popular option with our engineering students at UBCV, find it to be an incredible experience. And some have gone on to work from their co-op or from their co-op placements. But yeah, all positive from what I hear. And it's yeah, very well attended.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Callie said. It's a really popular program. I know there were some questions in there about like how many students get accepted into it. So it all depends on if they're meeting the eligibility requirements. That minimum 65% average is a really big differentiator between students. Some other things that we mention is if you're meeting those minimum eligibility requirements, you get to have an interview with our co-op advisors to see if you're accepted into the program. And so this interview is a really great way to showcase any other volunteer skills or employability skills that you have. So oftentimes they're looking for students that will they make a good employee? Have they worked for someone else before? It doesn't have to be paid. It could be in volunteer and those types of things. So there are a couple more components outside that academic average that you need just to make sure that we're sending out kind of well-rounded students to these partnered employers.
Sorry, one more thing I will add. Engineering physics is not part of AppSci Co-op. It's actually part of science co-op. So a lot of students don't know that until they begin that program. So just as an FYI.
But in terms of student experience, that would still be, they still have opportunities available to them and that sort of thing as well. So perfect, yes. Just to remind everyone, I think there was another question I saw that co-op will add a year to your degree, but you're getting at least 16 months of paid work experience as part of that program. Thank you both. There's a question that's a little bit kind of admissions, but kind of related to being in engineering. So asking about the possibility of transitioning from the Faculty of Applied Science to Faculty of Science during first year or after year. Or after first year. So kind of falls somewhere in the middle. But that's definitely a possibility if that's something that you're interested in. I would always encourage students, if you're interested in engineering and maybe something else and you're not totally sure, that starting in engineering can be an easier route in terms of admission purposes. So transferring into engineering can be more difficult. But if you're starting in the Faculty of Applied Sciences, a lot of your first year courses are science courses. And so transferring into another program is possible. You would still need to meet whatever the admission requirements are for that program though. So it's definitely something that we do see and that could be possible, but talking to your grade advisors, if you're particularly in that situation, would be your best option once you're a student. Callie, so there's a question about program placement. I know you mentioned a little bit about program placement and what that looks like. Maybe you could recap what program placement looks like at the Vancouver campus, because a reminder to everyone that it is only competitive for program placement at the Vancouver campus and not at the Okanagan campus. In the resources tab, we do have a link about program placement, and I will reshare that right now so that it pops up as at the bottom of your screen. But Callie, maybe if you want to talk a little bit quickly about program placement, please.
Oh, yeah, of course. So program placement, so students will be, when they've completed the first year engineering program, so that is our full 37. However, students can go to second year with 27 credits, 27 out of the 37 credits from the curriculum. So what happens is our second year placement form opens March 15th to May 15th annually. This form, students will have 8 choices to choose from our 14 different engineering programs. So students will then put their 8 choices in, and what happens is their statement of intent only goes to their first choice. And then students generally hear when they're placed in the summer, early summer, before registration, before second year registration. I will say that the last year, so 25W has been very competitive. We've seen a lot of jumps in different programs. So it's getting more competitive, something like MEC, something like CPEN, something like engineering physics. It's really growing in popularity, so it's getting more and more competitive.
Perfect, thank you. And there was a question, part of that question was specifically about computer engineering, which has been one of our more competitive programs in the last few years. But in that link that I shared for program placement, or if you just Google UBC Engineering program placement, you'll have an amazing website from our EAS advisors that help to make sure you have all the information about program placement. And in that, there's actually a historical entrance average chart where you can look and see what that average has been like the last few years. So that could be for CPEN or for any of the Vancouver programs. So definitely check that out. And that is your first year average to check out and look at that. I see another question, and there might be a few people that are also having this problem that you didn't get the chance to go into a breakout room. So it is possible if your Zoom client is too old or not a recent enough updated version that you may not be able to enter the breakout room. So we do apologize for that. If you're just not seeing it, again, to check the bottom of your screen, there should be 4 squares making a larger square, and then you can click on that and join into the breakout rooms themselves, and then you can always come back in here for more questions. So hopefully that will let you go there. At the end of the presentation, I will share our contact information again. So for whatever reason you don't get your question answered today, then please feel free to reach out to us and we will be sure to answer that for you. Another question. So I'm not sure if you would have gotten this answered because it is a little bit of a different piece that we didn't speak about residents. We didn't speak too much about residents. So I do want to remind everyone that if your student is coming into first year residence, as long as they're applying to residence before May 1st, they will be guaranteed a spot in residence. So always a good idea to apply for that. Most students will likely have received an offer by then, but if they haven't received an offer, they can still apply into residence to guarantee that space. If they're applying after then, it will be on a waitlist basis. So that would be something to definitely check out for you now. Sense of what that would look like?
Yeah, I can, again, very competitive program. So we're seeing a minimum of like 83, 84 right now. I believe it's around 120. Maybe not the exact number, but it's around that. And the program itself is over 500 students, just like civil. They're pretty big programs at Vancouver B.
Yeah, pardon me. Great question. Mechanical is our most popular program on the Okanagan campus, but as our students are guaranteed placement, it fluctuates at times. I don't have a specific number, but I would say probably 30% of our students would choose that. And then the remainder would be split between the other disciplines. So we have quite a large chunk of mechanical engineering students on our campus.
Amazing, thank you. Another question for both of you to answer. So wondering more about a student who might like to learn about engineering along with business. So I know that both of our campuses have lots of options for that. Callie, would you like to start with what's available at the Vancouver campus?
Yes, so a great option for students that want to combine or marry engineering and business would be a minor in commerce or a minor in entrepreneurship. With the minor in commerce, there is significant overlap. So if a student follows the guidelines of taking Econ 101 and 102 as their humanities requirements, and then the engineering economics course, which is built into an engineering program's curriculum, they would just end up taking 9 credits of commerce courses to satisfy that minor. So it's very, very popular amongst our students. Entrepreneurship is slightly different. There's not as much overlap. However, excellent and very, very popular minor. So these are really good options for students that want to marry both engineering and business.
Yeah, and on the Okanagan campus, we offer a minor in management. So students, if they're looking to do a minor in management, you have to apply for it and it will extend your degree by about a term. But we also offer a dual degree with a master's of management. So if you're thinking of management, the dual degree is going to probably open up more doors for employment later on because it's a master's program. However, it's going to cost more money versus doing the minor in management. So something to consider. And if students are looking to apply, they can apply for the dual degree Masters of Management right out of high school. So they can be accepted into Bachelor of Applied Science undergrad program and the dual degree Masters of Management. And essentially what that means is students throughout their undergrad When they're taking engineering courses, they're required to take 2 extra management courses. And then once they finish, they immediately jump into the program in May. And you're working on those 500 level graduate courses with a small cohort of students. So it's a new program, relatively new, and it's an awesome way to kind of get that management business experience in a shorter amount of time.
Awesome. So lots of different ways to definitely incorporate that. And even some of our programs who might not have an official, you might not have an official minor in something related to business or not be doing a dual degree or anything like that. But a lot of our programs on the Vancouver campus, specifically like engineering physics, integrated engineering, have a lot of courses that have that kind of entrepreneurship built into some of their courses that they take. And I know that there's courses at the Okanagan campus as well that kind of have more of that like entrepreneurship focus related to engineering that you can learn about if you're not wanting to do like a full minor or a full dual degree or something like that. So there's definitely lots of opportunity for students. The next question is a really interesting one, and I'm going to say that it's probably like a yes and no. So is there a difference between the material delivered between the Okanagan campus and the Vancouver campus in those common engineering programs? Tamara, do you want to speak to what you know about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So essentially our first year programs are, I almost want to say identical. They're not exactly, but it's very close, which means transferability between 2 campuses is a possibility after your first year because the programs are set up the same. So you're taking the same style courses. The course codes might look different. So on the Vancouver campus, you're taking your calc courses and they appear as math. On the Okanagan campus, they're appearing as applied science, engineering analysis, but it's the same course. So essentially those 12 courses that you're taking kind of have a combination of your math calc, your chemistry, your physics, some engineering design, English, there's a couple others. So essentially after year 1, Vancouver students and Okanagan students have taken the same type of curriculum. It really starts to change once you get into your second year. So that's when transferability is a little bit more difficult for students, but that first year really is the same across both campuses.
And I will add that Tamara did mention the possibility of transferring, but that is still limited. So we do always recommend, of course, to start at the campus that you plan to finish at. But as an example of, how transferable a course may be between campus, definitely first year is going to be very similar in terms of a lot of the content. But once you get into that program itself, it's going to be a little bit different. In terms of coming out of a degree, though, I do want to mention that like a mechanical engineer graduating from the Okanagan campus and a mechanical engineer graduating from the Vancouver campus is going to have the same basis of learning, the same basis of knowledge, be able to go into the same jobs, be equally competitive. So in that sense, you are still going to have the same understanding of a degree, but the actual courses are probably going to be a little bit different. And at the Okanagan, you might have 2 courses that are sort of the same as one course in Vancouver and that sort of thing. So the courses themselves might not line up, but your actual engineering degree is still going to be very similar in terms of outcomes. But there's also some different areas of research happening at both campuses too in some cases. Sometimes they align, sometimes they are totally different. So if you're really interested in a particular area, that could be something to check into first if you're looking at getting involved in undergraduate research, if there's a particular type of lab or professor that maybe you'd like to work with in the future. Those can be a little bit different between campuses, and so something to check out, but really part of your decision of what campus is going to be the best fit for you would be something to look at if that's your concern. The next question I'll answer really quickly. So it's what's the difference between the Bachelor of Applied Science degree versus a Bachelor of Science and Engineering versus you might hear about a Bachelor of Engineering. There's tons of different names across the world that you might hear for an engineering degree. The Bachelor of Applied Science degree at UBC is an accredited engineering degree. There's no specific naming system in Canada or around the world for what an engineering degree is, but there are accreditation systems. And so in Canada, your degree has to be accredited to become a professional engineer in the future. And so all of the UBC engineering programs are accredited. That is not something that you would have to worry about. If you're looking to be an engineer somewhere else after you graduate from UBC outside of Canada, you may have to take some additional credentialing or an exam or something like that to have that credential of working as a professional engineer in another country. So one common one is for students who go to the US that they would need to write the FE exam, and that's a pretty common one for students to write so that they can then be credentialed in the US as well. But depending on where you want to work in the future, that may be something to look into. UBC is an internationally recognized degree, again, accredited within Canada, so not usually an issue to work wherever you'd like to. But there's no real difference in those titles, just what the university has decided to call them. And the next question is about study abroad. So asking about kind of what cost looks like for study abroad. Does it cost more? Would either of you be able to kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, for the UBC V campus, for our department specifically, we deal with the CIE program. So this is a designated advisor within our department. It's the transfer credit advisor. At this time, it is Jonathan. It's a mat leave at the moment. However, he's managing this portfolio, so I can't speak directly to the costs. But if you would like to email our general inbox at students, that's plural, at appsci.ubc.ca, he will go into the inbox and answer any questions that you may have about the CIE program.
Yeah, I'll just jump in there. So I think it works the same across both campuses. So the amazing part of the study abroad, Go Global, CIE, all the names that we're calling it, is that typically the partnerships are made so that students are studying abroad, they're paying UBC tuition rates. So that is a huge benefit for students that are looking to go abroad. So your tuition is going to be the same that you would be paying here. There are a minimum amount of credits that you need to pay for over there. So usually it's 15 credits, which is about 5 courses. You have to pay for, you don't have to take all of them, but that's what you're paying for. So you take around 5. And so the only out-of-pocket cost would be kind of for your airfare. Likely you're already paying for residence or accommodation unless you're living at home. So that would be an additional cost as well. So again, tuition is the same if you're going abroad, but it's just those additional travel and living fees.
Perfect. Thank you both. And obviously, if you want to, travel, a lot of students will take a few courses so that they can still travel. And especially if you're in Europe, it's so easy to get around. So obviously, you might want to save some extra money for those fun travels as well. I did reactivate the study abroad links. You should have seen a little pop-up at the bottom, and that will link you to our page that specifically mentions all of the CIE locations. And it also has the CIE contact on there as well. So you can email if you have any specific questions. The next question is, where's the best place to look for engineering related opportunities or exposure as a high school student? So one that I do want to mention is our Gearing Up program that we have at both the Okanagan and the Vancouver campus. They run lots of high school camps, single day events. They have clubs throughout the year, lots of different ways for students to get that exposure to engineering as a high school student. And so lots of really cool and exciting opportunities to get connected in that way. I know that there are also some specific kind of one-off opportunities for some of our labs to participate as a summer high school student. There are other, like if you search STEM activities and things like that, external to UBC, there's lots of different ways to get involved in STEM activities. And then sometimes we do have various events. So I will plug this again, but I know for the Okanagan campus, there's an open house coming up on November 1st at the Okanagan campus. That'd be a good way to kind of get some exposure to what's going on, but not necessarily getting involved in a engineering opportunity per se of something that they're going to be like participating in, but definitely a cool way to check out lots of student teams and things like that if you're near the Okanagan campus. Is there anything else that either of you wanted to flag of ways for high school students to get involved in engineering that I didn't mention yet? No?
No, UBC Gearing Up was the one I was going to mention.
Perfect. All right. We have just a few more minutes left for questions. I'm just trying to go through and check these out. Okay, a great question here. How active is the alumni network, and are there mentorship opportunities between alumni and current students? Yes, we have a really great mentorship program at UBC that students can get involved in. Callie, do you know much about the mentorship program? Do you want to speak to it, or do you want me to?
Yeah, not a ton. No, we don't deal a lot with our alumni, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I can't speak to that experience.
Perfect. So no problem. We do have the mentorship program offered through the professional development team, and that's a unique opportunity for undergraduate students to get connected to. It might not always be alumni, but to industry professionals and as well as upper year students. And so that's a really great way for current students to get to know more. We do also, and this is one of the links in the resources tab, so I'll add that as well, and I will mention at the end of the presentation shortly too. But there is the Women in Engineering Club as well, and they are offering an mentorship program for high school students. So not quite the same, but if you're a female identifying high school student right now and you'd like to get connected to other women students as well as women alumni and industry, this is a great opportunity as a high school student that you can participate in virtually and in person. So I definitely encourage you to sign up for that if that's something you're interested in. Tamara, is there anything I'm missing from the Okanagan campus that you know of about kind of getting connected with alumni or industry partners or anything like that?
Yeah, often it's just through our mentorship program that you mentioned, Erin. So for folks that are joining, it's like a triad mentorship. So it's usually a lower level year student paired with an upper level student with someone in industry. So often it's an alumni because we stay connected with them. And that's kind of how it works. You get check-ins, you have some meetings. So it's a really amazing way to learn a little bit more about what's happening in industry and make those connections before you even graduate.
Perfect. Thank you. And we do have another session coming up in December that we will be bringing to recent alumni to chat to all of our prospective students. So keep an eye on your students' inbox for that. They will be getting an invite for, I believe it's, I want to say December 10th off the top of my head, but again, I will mention that in a few minutes at the end of our presentation. Next question, does UBC offer a formula student team? Yes, we do have a formula team. We have an electric formula team. We have at the Vancouver campus, we mentioned it a little bit before, but we have over 30 design teams. And then we have quite a few design teams and design opportunities at the Okanagan campus as well. So tons of different opportunities for students to get involved in, and something that you might definitely find and can get involved in extracurricular outside of the classroom, and a way to explore different parts of engineering outside of your degree itself. All right, I'm just scanning through to see if there's any more questions. Is there any that you stand out? We have time for maybe one or two more questions. I'm just trying to scan through it and see if there's any more.
Erin, I see a couple in there about transferring from another institution.
Sure.
So anyone that was asking questions about, I know someone asked it from BCIT, and someone asked about another institution, TRU. So depending on the university or the institution you're looking for, there is a common first year engineering curriculum across about approximately 10 institutions within BC. So this means that we share almost the same curriculum, and students are welcome to explore that option by taking their first year at that school, and then transferring into second year. Oftentimes you would get almost all of your courses transfer over, or 90% of your courses transfer over, and there's a different admission requirement, GPA associated with that. So it's definitely an option for you if you're not 100% sure if a big institution like UBC is for you, or if you want to stay closer to home and then transfer later. So you can definitely explore that a little bit further through those partnership institutions.
Yeah, I did see a question about the ENGT program, which is, again, something very popular for entry into our second year. So we have partner institutions around Vancouver and in the interior of BC. So what is required is completing this entire program to its completion, and then achieving about a 3.1, and that's a guarantee into our second year. Now, that's not a guarantee into something like CPEN, MEC, or engineering physics, because those are a little bit higher GPAs. So students would, if they have not attended UBC previously, they would apply through the Education Planner BC. That's an excellent and very popular way of getting into second year engineering at UBCB.
Perfect, thank you. And there's a few other questions that I saw about kind of how do I know which program to go into at UBC, whether it's the Okanagan campus or the Vancouver campus. So just a reminder that students will be applying into the Bachelor of Applied Science program at either campus. And then after your first year, which your first year is going to teach you about all of the different types of engineering through those really cool design courses that you get to take. So students will be able to make a really good decision on which one is going to be the right fit for them. I saw a question about robotics specifically, and there's many programs that would suit robotics as well. So there's lots of different opportunity depending on what a student wants to do with robotics, but lots of different programs available for that at both campuses. A question I saw somewhere too about biomedical engineering and whether that was offered at both campuses. So we have the biomedical engineering program at the Vancouver campus, but we also have sorry, Tamara, what's the right word? Specialization within
concentration.
Sorry, concentration within some of our programs at the Okanagan campus for biomedical as well. So there's really lots of opportunity no matter which campus that you might be interested in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close those breakout rooms. So think about if your student would make a great engineer. And a lot of the times people think, oh, they have to really, you know, love math and love physics. And while physics and math are definitely going to be part of an engineering degree, that's not really what our program always focuses on. So if you think about what a world without engineers might look like, that would mean no buildings, no bridges, no cell phones, no life-saving devices, no medicine to heal us, no transportation. Engineers are really touching every part of our life. And for students that want to solve problems, make a difference in the world, and work as part of a team, engineering could be a really great fit for them. And so we really hope that you'll encourage your student to explore that a little bit further and to see if engineering might be the right fit for them in the future. And hopefully we'll be able to welcome them to UBC Engineering. I mentioned a few of these in the engineering piece or in the engineering room that we were just in, but we have lots more events coming up this fall into January even. So definitely feel free to check out any of them. Coming up next is our UBC Okanagan Engineering Open House. So be sure to check that out if you are in the Okanagan region. Head into Kelowna to campus to learn more about all of the programs offered there. Check out some of the design teams, talk with students, talk with professors. That's a really great opportunity to learn more about all of the programs offered there. We have lots of other virtual events coming up. So our virtual program fair will also be a great way to talk to each one of our programs that we offer. So you or your student could attend and actually go in. So I know there's questions about biomedical engineering today. There's questions about robotics and things like that, but you can actually go into these programs. They'll do a really short presentation and you'll be able to ask all of your questions about that program to learn a little bit more and to dive more into those programs that we offer at both campuses. So check out all of our upcoming events. In the resources tab, you can check out upcoming events. There's also a link for previous events. So if you missed the co-op event that we had, the applying to UBC engineering event, any of that, please be sure to check that out. And you can find all of those on the yu.ubc.ca website as well. I mentioned already as well, but there is a link in the resources tab for any female identifying high school students that are interested in joining the mentorship program with Women in Engineering. They are currently accepting applications for, I believe it's the next week or so, but you can check out that link in our resources tab and that can be participated in virtually or in person. So huge thank you to everyone for joining us today. Especially big thank you to our advisors, Tamara and Callie here, Sean from the Student Recruitment Advising team, and Ruben from the International Student Initiative team as well. And of course, to Agnes and Will from our leadership team that were here earlier. So lots of ways to get in touch. You can get in touch with us for the Vancouver campus, at outreach@appsci.ubc.ca, and you can get in touch with Marie or her team at engineering.okanagan@ubc.ca. So if you have any more questions after today, we'd love to answer them via email. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We've had a fantastic evening with us, and I hope you had a fantastic evening as well and a great weekend ahead. Thank you.